Mr. Chidambaram. You've, in your initial remarks this morning, said this is a much needed step, but it's come 8 years too late. There will be those who will say better late than never, Mr. Chidambaram. 2016-17 was a very different time. GST had just been brought in. 8 years later, we're seeing what the government is calling the next reforms of GST, GST 2.0. Do you agree?
The headline of my tweet was, I welcome the reduction and rationalization of rates. The shoulder was, it's 8 years too late. So please read both of them. I did not say only that it is 8 years too late. I welcome the reduction. I welcome the rationalization. But I'm duty bound to point out that we said it 8 years ago, even when the GST law was being made and introduced in Parliament.
But Mr. Chidambaram, with due regard, 8 years ago, it was very difficult even to achieve a consensus of the kind. To be fair to the late Arun Jaitley, he was able to achieve, the NDA government then was able to achieve something that your government was not. So the first step was to build a basic consensus. Now that we've had 8 years experience, the government could say we are in a better position to actually put together a more simplified rate structure.
I disagree. I disagree strongly. You don't know what happened, or you've forgotten what happened. I'm a player of that age and era, and Arun Jaitley was a player. So was Mr. Yashwant Sinha. Mr. Yashwant Sinha constituted the group of finance ministers. I inherited it, and I worked with them. Every finance minister supported the GST. We were able to persuade them in 3 or 4 meetings. Only 2 opposed it. One was Gujarat and one was Madhya Pradesh. What the Gujarat representative and what the Madhya Pradesh finance minister told me will be recorded in history sometime rather. But they opposed it. They say we have no instructions to agree to a GST. And we wanted to pass the law. We wanted to pass the law. I approached both Mr. Jaitley and Ms. Swaraj, the 2 leaders of opposition. Mrs. Swaraj put it very clearly, we have no appetite to support any law on reform. That's where we left it. This government was able to bring, obviously, this government was able to bring Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh on board, and all other finance ministers remained on board, and they were able to introduce the law. But remember, Mr. Dr. Arvind Subramaniam, the chief economic advisor to the government of India, headed by Mr. Narendra Modi, published a report called Towards a Neutral Revenue Rate, in which he recommended one single rate. Departing from that recommendation, they introduced multiple rates. That's what I'm criticizing. Okay. We criticized it 8 years ago, and we are saying you brought it down to 2 rates 8 years later.
But let's come to the present. From the time when Rahul Gandhi, your leader, kept saying Gabbar Singh taxed for GST, to today where you have said in that same statement, it's a good and simple tax. So you seem to be agreeing that the government has got the drift completely right this time, that you need a much more simplified tax regime with just 2 tax slabs and of course 40% as a sin tax. But by and large, you seem to believe that this is the right step forward. This is a step that will bring down presumably prices and thereby hopefully stimulate demand, consumption and investment. Am I right?
I said so in my tweet. You are repeating to me what I said.
No, so you're agreeing with so you and Nirmala Sitharaman for once are on the same page.
Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman has agreed with the Congress that it should be a good and simple tax. We have been saying this for 8 years. No, GST means a good and simple tax. She has come around to the view. I'm glad she agrees with us.
No, but that is, you see, quite apart from the credit taking that every party will say that, we told you so.
I'm not taking credit. I'm pointing out facts.
But do you, Mr. Chidambaram, agree that as a result of the GST being brought at the time that it has, A, it could offset the impact of tariffs, and the tariff war with Donald Trump, and could also stimulate a virtuous cycle of demand, consumption, and investment?
Not entirely. It will largely offset the low rate of consumption. It will partially offset Mr. Trump's tariffs. But there are several other things that have to be taken to boost consumption and to counteract Mr. Trump's tariffs. This is a good step. This is a first step, but this is not a sufficient step. This is a necessary step, but not a sufficient step.
What, according to you, would constitute a sufficient step to build on what the government has done with GST?
Yes, I'll tell you. First, they must review the GST laws. It's a very complicated law. It's cumbersome to administer. It's very difficult to comply with the law. They must simplify the law. They must simplify the forms. They must make it easy enough for a single shopkeeper or a trader to fill the form on his own. Today, nobody can fill the form without professional assistance. And professionals are mushroomed even in small towns. Every shopkeeper, every trader has to employ a professional, even if his turnover is about 10 lakhs or 20 lakhs. That is one. Secondly, the manner in which the GST law is administered is horrendous. Ask traders. I've appeared in several cases involving GST disputes. I mean, the manner in which the administration of GST is equal to the ED administering PMLA. You must make it a trader, seller, friendly law. You can't threaten people with imprisonment. You can't allow your officers to go berserk and arrest people. This is a civil law. It's a tax law. If there is a tax violation, inadvertently or wittingly, you must punish him by a civil penalty. Why do you throw him in jail? Therefore, there are many, many other things. Why don't you talk to a couple of GST specialist lawyers who will tell you the kind of complications that traders face?
Mr. Chidambaram, I've actually spoken to friends who are business persons in Mumbai.
What do they tell you?
They've spoken about the Inspector Raj that has come into the GST. Nobody is denying that. I just want to ask you, therefore, so your concern is reduce the costs of compliance, ensure that the Inspector Raj ends, ensure that the discretionary powers that the inspectors have are reduced. But net, therefore, you're saying that this is a first step, an important step, but you're saying this cannot be the culmination of ensuring that we are truly a one nation, one tax structure. You want to see now compliance at the next level, the costs being reduced, and also the profiteering that goes on in the name of GST to also be reduced. Am I correct?
Yes, to every suggestion you've made.
Well, it's not often that Mr. Chidambaram agrees with suggestions that I make, so that's also a positive. This seems to be a new day, Mr. Chidambaram. You've agreed to a large extent with what Ms. Sitharaman has done. You're also agreeing to some of the suggestions I've thrown on the show. But net, do you believe that this will, I come back to it one last time, trigger a virtuous cycle that the economy, which has already grown substantially in the last quarter, the numbers were 7.8%. Do you believe that this will trigger that domestic demand as well as investment and business confidence?
One swallow does not make a summer. You can't gauge a trend by one quarter's numbers. The one quarter number, the last quarter, has been severely criticized because they use a deflator of 0.9. I don't know if you understand the implications of using such a low deflator. Be that as it may, we will discuss it another time. The point is, this is a good step. This is a progressive step, although it's 8 years later, I'll have to say that. But there are many other steps they have to take. For example, lakhs of MSMEs closed down following GST and following COVID. They are still closed. The COVID is behind us, but GST is still with us. And unless you compensate them or redress their grievances, they will not start again, which is why we lost so many thousands of jobs in the MSME sector. They have to be revived. They have to be reopened. They need working capital.
Right.
They need capital assistance. That is one thing. Then you have to simplify the rules on the forms. Their forms were not prescribed for several years after the GST law came into effect on 1/7/2007. They had ad hoc forms. Now they have replaced the ad hoc forms with regular forms.
1/7/2017, yes.
Regular forms, but those forms have to be simplified.
Okay.
Therefore, several things have to be done, and non-GST measures have to be taken. For example, you have to reduce the household debt. You have to boost the household savings. You have to address the issue of stagnant wages in rural areas. They don't fall under the umbrella of GST, but they have to be done in parallel with the GST reform.
I'm going to leave it there, Mr. Chidambaram, because I think you've given us where you stand, to some extent where the opposition stands, but also hopefully you've expressed what many would say today at least is a bipartisan view in the desire to kickstart the animal spirits of this economy. But I appreciate you joining me here on the show tonight. Thank you very much.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe. If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.